Hello, this is Sarah with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to be showing you how to add a crochet trim to a towel, a blanket, or any kind of fabric. And you don't need any extra tools. All you need is a needle, and it's real important that your needle be a little bit sharp but still have a big enough eye for your yarn. You're also going to need a way to measure. And I have this fun little ruler. And we're going to be using centimeters. And my centimeters are right here. So in order to make that easy, I took a piece of cardstock. So you can see that. And I put my centimeters on there. There we go. And this will make it a lot easier to do, because it's a little bit longer. You can use, if you have an old envelope that you got in the mail, that makes, because it's doubled, makes a nice way to measure. You can use paper. It's just a cardstock gives you a little bit more beef to it, so it doesn't tear up too fast. Okay, you're going to need that. You're going to need a crochet hook, and today we're going to be using a G. Now, the type of yarn you choose will determine the hook that you use. If you're going to do this with a thread, like a 10 crochet thread or something, make sure you match your hook to your yarn. We're going to be using worsted weight yarn for our demonstration. Let me show you. This is the one I made that I blogged about. You can see it's very open and lacy, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And of course, once you do yours, you can do whatever edging that you want. I'm just going to show you how to get started and what I did. I will put that pattern link in the comments so that you will have that, and so you can see what I did. All right? Oh, and don't forget, I'm going to be doing this on a towel, but you can do a flannel blanket. You can do a cotton piece of fabric. You can do along the edge of your collar, your sleeves, the bottom of a t-shirt, or even around a t-shirt here. Anywhere you want to add a little crochet trim, you can use this technique. All right? So I have my towel ready. I have a way to measure, my crochet hook, yarn needle, and some yarn. We're using this brown worsted weight today. I think it's just Red Art Super Saver. So I'm going to move the screen down so you can see my hands a little better. Try to keep my fingers out of the way this time. There we go. Now, let me grab my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right, here you can see I have measured out my centimeters. And I'm going to just put that on my towel here, so you can see. And I have my needle all ready. I have it threaded, and you need to be, depending on your size, 24, 36, however inches that you want. If you like working with a shorter amount of yarn, you can do that. You're just going to have to tie in when you do it, because you'll run out of yarn. All right, I'm going to put a knot in the end of my yarn, just like that, and then I'm going to clip under it, so it's just a little yarn. And we don't always knot, but we're going to need a knot today. All right, now what we're going to do, I'm going to move this down so you can see the end. What we're going to do to get started, let me move my measure thing, is if you're using fabric that is not sewn, make sure you roll your fabric over. But an edge like this that already has a hem in it, we do not need to hem it. Now, what you're going to start on this edge where this little fold is, and you're going to put your needle through and find a hole. Now, that's why it's important that your needle is sharp, even though we want to make sure that the hole is big enough to get your yarn through. And now we're just going to pull our yarn, and we're going to gently ease it into that end so it can't be seen. Then we're going to go back through like this and go right back in that same hole that we just made. And then we'll pull our yarn. And I always kind of put my thumb on it just to kind of hold it until I can get and see it, and then I can just gently pull it. Do not pull this too tight, because you're going to need to be able to get your crochet hook through there. You want it snug but not too tight. Now, what I do is I take my measure thingy bopper that I made, my little ruler with my centimeters, and I go like this. Okay, and this technique that I'm going to be showing you is called the blanket stitch. So what you do is I hold them both just like this. Then with my needle where I have it measured, I go through the end and make sure your yarn is on this side of your needle, just like this. There we go. And then you make a stitch, and what that does is it forms a loop. And I did it again with my thumb so I don't pull too hard, and then I can gently pull that, and you can see we have a loop on there. I'll show you again. You go through where you've measured off, and I've already got holes here because I practiced a little bit. Making sure your yarn is on the back side of your needle, and I hold the yarn and the towel and pull the thread through, and I've got it with my thumb again, and then I gently ease that over. And you're going to do this all the way across your towel or your blanket or whatever you're doing. Now, you may end up with a different amount of stitches than I do when you're going across, because you may have a bigger towel, or you might be working on a baby blanket edge. And I'm going to show you how to do a corner when we get down to that corner. And you can see my stitches. I'm going to put on that white, you can see that better. We're making little loops so that we can crochet in those when we come back. All right, let me go to this other side where I already have the whole row done. Here's the loop I started with, and then I worked all the way across. And then when you get to the end, you do the same thing. You loop through, and then you go through, tie a little knot, and then tuck your knot in. And you need to tie off. And this one right here, there's a knot back here, and that's because we ran out of yarn. And so what I do is I knot it and put it on the back side, just like that, because you will at times run low on yarn. Okay, now let me show you what the next step is. Now that you have your loops all across, we need to add some stitches. So what I do, now if you're using a thinner yarn or a thread, you may want to put more stitches than what I have here. And actually, I would suggest if you're using like a crochet thread that's a 10 or something, or even smaller, that maybe you go with half centimeters, because then your stitches will be closer together, unless you want it open. So it's kind of up to you. All right, now what we're going to do to attach our yarn is we're going to put our hook through that first loop, and we're going to tie on just like that. Now pull that tight and hold that over to the side, because we'll weave that in later. Now we're going to put one single crochet in each one of those loops, and you just go through that loop like it's the top of a crochet row and single crochet. Now it's totally up to you what pattern that you want to do. I'm going to show you just what I did on my towels. I wanted them to be beiges and browns to go with this rust color, and I have some black ones too. And I chose to go with this brown because I put black on a couple of them, which I do really like, but it was really hard for me to show it to you. All right, so I'm putting, now remember to crochet loosely when you're going across. And if you feel like there isn't enough stitches, you can always put 2 single crochets in each stitch. Or another technique is to put a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. You put a single crochet in the first loop, then you chain 1, a single crochet in the next loop, and you chain 1. And that gives you some additional stitches to work in if you feel like it's too tight across. I like doing the kind of a loose single crochet across. We're almost there. Now what I did for the next row, because I wanted it open and lacy, is I did V stitches that are made with triples. And I'll show you how I did that. Let me get this in this last one. It's a little snug sometimes, that last stitch, because we want to make sure our knot holds. Chain 1 and turn. And there's my row of single crochets to work with. And now you can do whatever that you want to make your row. Now, you may end up with an odd or even number of stitches, so you may need to count those and calculate that of what you're going to do. All right, let me get my ball yarn out of the way. What I did, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then I skipped the next stitch, and then I did 2 triples. Let me show you how I did that. 2 loops over, skip the next stitch, go in the next stitch. There's my triple. Chain 1, and the way you do a triple, you put 2 loops over. I'm going to go back in that same hole, pull up a loop, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, go through the third 2. And there you can see I have a V stitch. It's not very visible against that, is it? Okay, and then I chained 1, skipped 1, and then did a V stitch. I actually skipped 2. I just looked at that. 1, 2. Yes, 1, 2. So we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, triple crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. And I'll show you one I have over here. I already have it started, and I have all the V stitches done for you. There we go. See all the V stitches? Now, something that happened is when I got to the end, I was skipping 2 stitches between each one. And when I got to the end, I was only able to skip 1 stitch. And that happens sometimes when you're adding stitches and you have to kind of make it even so that you have a single crochet or triple crochet on each end, and then your V stitches across. And sometimes you have to do that. One thing to remember that I didn't discuss, let me go back. When you're, here it is, when you get to the corner, when you're doing your blanket stitches, you're going to do that loop stitch on the corner, and then you'll turn and you'll do another loop stitch like we did when we first began, and then you'll go down your corner. I didn't discuss that. I forgot I was going to tell you about that. It's just so that it lays flat. Okay, the last thing I did on this towel was to just do a single crochet in this first stitch, and then I just did double crochet shell stitches with 3 double crochets in between that V stitch, and then I single crocheted in that next stitch. That's what I did for an edge. And I'm going to show you my black one again just so that you can see. See, it's really kind of hard to see. Let me pull the screen up. There we go. And I'll show you back to this black one. We've got our V stitches, and then I put shell stitches in each V stitch with a single crochet in between just to form some nice little lacy thing. Now, when it comes to putting an edge on a towel or a blanket or anything, like I said, collars and stuff, the thing to remember is you may end up with different amounts of stitches, so you may have to adjust a little bit. What I recommend is once you get your blanket stitches all the way across, go ahead and all the way across, and if you're going all the way around the edges, and then count your stitches. For instance, say I put 30 stitches on this end, and I want it to be the same, so I'll put 30 stitches on the same. Now, it might be longer, but you'll have to calculate how many stitches, and then you can do, and I always recommend putting a row of single crochets and then working your design in that. And that's pretty much it.